Alright, good afternoon, Joggies. This is Mr. Caleb. Okay, this is the first session of study with Mr. K. Alright, you can use this video to study with me and perhaps pause me whenever you can to read up on some of the content. That's when you can complete your content. So today I'll be looking into GL topic 1. Okay, that's basically the very first topic that we will be covering. Alright, and in this topic over here, we look into the scale, okay, of neighborhood. And this is where you can use your different geographical lenses to look into the neighborhoods and what did the syllabus actually went through. Okay, there are a few key pointers. Okay, first we look into relationship. Right, geography is about looking into relationship between two things. So over here we are talking about relationship between people, okay, and nature. Of course, in the setting of neighborhood. Alright. Second, we'll be looking at how people acquire a sense of place in neighborhood. Then, okay, if we go to the third one, that is really looking at what is the relationship between locations. And last but not least, we are looking at how neighborhoods are being organized. So in fact, if you were to look at these four key things over here again, okay, these four key things over here, you will realize that actually in future, if you ever were to look at any place that on a different scale, for example, a country, a region, or even at a global scale, you can also use some of these as well. Okay, so of course, like for example, if you were to look at an issue such as the global world supply chain, that will be on a scale of global scale. And for that, we are looking at relationship, perhaps between different countries, between the supply, the suppliers, and the demands from different countries. Okay, and then you're also looking at relationship between locations. Okay, which is the third point, right? So as you can see, I think the objective of this topic 1 is really to let you look at a small neighborhood, okay, and have this four key ideas, which you can replicate these key ideas at different scale, right? So let us now go into the first relationship, right? So when we look at relationship between people and nature, there are really two types of relationships that we are talking about. Not really two types. We are actually dependent. Okay, we are actually dependent on them. Okay, there's a form of dependency. Okay, and people are dependent on nature for many reasons. Okay, which we have covered in lower sec. Okay, we are dependent on them for essential services. Okay, they provide minerals, they provide resources, so on and so forth, right? So these are some essential services they actually provide. And later on, okay, in the next chapter, you also find out what kind of services are we talking about. Okay, what kind of ecosystem services are we talking about? Alright, I'm trying also to link to other topics in GL as well. So so that is our dependency on nature, right? And then of course we have to be very cognizant about that it is not just a dependency relationship we're looking about. Okay, it is also a mutual relationships that we're talking about. Okay, what do you mean by mutual relationship? Just now I talked about people's dependency the on nature. Okay, actually the nature also have in some ways or another. Okay, they also affect each other, and we also have a mutual relationship with each other. All right, and that mutual relationship could be, for example, how um, we how nature can bring us, for example, lowering our air temperature. Okay, it can help us to remove pollutants, and it can also help us create recreational spaces as well. Okay, and all these actually is what ecosystem services are about as well. Okay, so I can see over here there's some repetition between the relationship between people and nature, but nevertheless, just make sure you are very clear, okay, that there is a relationship. I think that's the most important thing to establish over here. And yeah, so that is that. Right? Okay, so moving on, okay, let us now move on to the benefits. Okay, so this relationship sometimes can be beneficial. Okay, so we look at these benefits. Okay, and some of these benefits is what I've mentioned earlier on as well, right? How nature can benefit people by doing certain things, resources, so on and so forth, and people can actually bring benefits, okay, to nature as well through community activities. Okay, so you can see that um, people to nature. Okay, you can write over here, people to nature. Okay, what kind of benefits? It can be through community services or community activities, so on and so forth. Right, this will to promote the importance of environmental protection. Right, there are many examples in the guidebook, so can you please go there, okay? Go to the textbook, okay? Note down the examples that's given. There is the NParks Citizen Science Initiative, which is the Dragon Watch. Okay, there's also the Waterways Cleanup programs organized by the Waterways Watch Society. Alright? So other than benefits, I'm pretty sure on the other hand, okay, there will be disadvantage. Okay, there will be disadvantage as well. Alright? The disadvantage are many, and some are quite straightforward. Okay, what have we done to nature? Okay, in Sec 1 you learn that the deforestation will cause soil erosion. Okay, that's just one very simple example how humans like us have actually damaged vegetation, worsened pollution, and disturbed wildlife. So these are several things that have that we as human actually bring a disadvantage to nature, right? And let's move on. Okay, nature may also bring disadvantage to people as well. Okay, how is that so? Right, so first of all, there is a huge amount of increase in wildlife encounter, right? In Singapore, you can see otters in our city, you can see snakes, you can see monkeys even, but does it mean that, is it really their fault, right? So at the end of the day, I think it is important to note that the relationship between people and nature should be managed, and they should be managed by whom? Perhaps sometimes government agencies. Okay, and there must also be a human acceptance that we must coexist with them, right? So this is not something that the GL book has actually emphasized on, but that would be some form of enduring understanding for this key question over here, right? Okay, let's move on to the next key question, which is that. So over here, this one is actually 1.1, all right? And over here, let's move on to 1.2 right now. Okay. All right, for 1.2, it is pretty straightforward. Why do I say that? Because at the end of the day, we are looking at how neighborhoods can bring a sense of place to people. Okay, and how do people actually acquire that sense of place in this small little subtopic over here? All right, and you got to remember that there are few things, okay, that will happen, could happen, as people associate importance, meanings, and memories with specific locations in their neighborhood. Okay, and most of the people's sense of place is rooted in their everyday experiences of the natural and built environment and regular interaction with others in their neighborhoods as well. Okay, so these are a few things that we two things that we should know of. Okay, and in your guidebook there are two ways you can acquire a sense of place. Firstly, okay, it is repeated encounter with objects. Okay, with objects and people. Okay, with these repeated encounters with objects and people, it helps us to really recall either the characteristics or the features of that place, certain places. Just take for example, if your childhood is filled with going to the playground, so the playground will definitely be a place of significance to you because of your repeated encounter. Okay, because of your repeated encounters when you were young. Okay, secondly, if you look at the second point is when there is either a significant or memorable event that happened at the landmark or gathering place. It could be as simple as, oh, I had my 21st birthday at, I don't know, Pasir Ris Park, that certain swimming pool, that certain club. I don't know, I'm not too sure, right? So it can be anything. So we acquire a sense of place from significant or memorable events that occur at local landmarks and gathering places. And most of the time it is usually highly visible. Okay? So you can see that is significant or memorable events. Okay, mind my handwriting, please. Yeah, this is iPad, right? So you can see the examples that's given in the guidebook could be, okay, the Anfield Memorial at the Liverpool Football Club Stadium to remember the club supporter who had lost their lives due to overcrowding at Liverpool's old stadium in 1989. In fact, okay, if you go and search online, okay, you look at the jersey, Liverpool jersey. Let me see, Liverpool jersey, right? If you look at Liverpool jersey, okay, 1989. Is it 1989? 19. Okay, you look at Liverpool jersey, you can find that. Okay, so yeah, that's that. So for sense of place, that is how people can acquire a sense of place, and usually how a sense of place can also be represented in many different ways. Okay, it could be social media, it could be hashtag, so on and so forth. So you can see that we talk about how we represent the sense of place, and sometimes it may contradict, okay, with an individual sense of place. What do I mean by that? Okay, certain media may portray maybe this playground that you played at differently, saying that maybe it's haunted, for example. But your experience at the playground is totally different. You enjoy yourself there. You had your you had your you had great time playing there with your family. So your experience is different. So therefore, there are different representations. There are different emotions that is involved in that same place. Okay, and that can either enhance or contradict. Okay, your individual sense of place. So, sense of place is very personal. Okay, it is very personal, right? So yeah. All right, let's go on to the third one, which is relationship between locations. All right, for relationship between locations, we are looking at how we see certain patterns in the neighborhood. Okay, and the scale of neighborhood. Okay, and that is when we are looking at, for example, how we can divide these neighborhood into some form of patterns. Okay, so you can we talk about spatial patterns. This is a very geographical concept. All right, so for spatial patterns, usually some things can be observed because most of the things that's being built in Singapore, it is not non-random. Okay, and some of these patterns include, for example, shapes, can be geometry, maybe straight line, triangle, or it could be anything. Okay, even in clusters as well. Clusters, regular intervals. Regular intervals, I can give you an example. There will be bus. Okay, bus stops. Okay, bus stops are arranged in at regular intervals, right? So yeah. So for non-random arrangement, all right, we are looking at how these non-random arrangement can actually give us an insight to how URA has planned our neighborhood. And there must be a purpose in planning this. Okay, later on we'll go on to the purpose. Okay, now we're going to go into something that's recognizable. Okay, something that you can recognize. Okay, for example, you look at train station in Singapore, right? You look at the train stations in Singapore. You look at Circle Line. It is in a shape, okay, of a geometrical shape, whereby it is designed to intersect with other train lines. So for Circle Line, the main purpose of Circle Line is to make sure there are transits between all the other different lines. For example, Paya Lebar is the interchange of the yellow line to green line, right? That's how many of you change. And when Circle Line reaches Purple Line, the north-south line, some of you live in Punggol, that's where you get off, right? So Circle Line serves as a, I would say, it resembles an oval, and it serves and designed in a way to intersect with other train lines to create more connections, and therefore shortening time for passengers. Okay, so you can also talk about spatial patterns, okay, that is in cluster, like for example our heavy industry. Okay, heavy industries in the west side of Singapore. Okay, you can let me just show you the west side of Singapore. Yes, let's go to my Google map. Okay, you can see the west side of Singapore. If I zoom out, okay, the west side of Singapore is mostly heavy industry. Okay, you can talk about the Tuas area, you can talk about Pioneer area. Okay, Pioneer is over here. You can see the word Pioneer over here, Pioneer. Okay, you have Pioneer MRT station. So in this area, you have the Jurong Island, and in fact, you have the new ports also over here as well. So you can see that there are certain spatial pattern, okay, in the scale of Singapore that we are looking at. And with these patterns, it comes down to the next thing that I want to talk about. That is spatial association. Why? The why part. Alright? The why part. Why are certain things located in this manner? Let's just look at this West heavy industry. Why do you think, okay, these services are clustered in the west side of Singapore? Why not spread over in Singapore? Why not in other parts of Singapore, right? So in one of the reasons why they have decided to really locate in the west is because there has been a very strong heavy industry development in the west from the independence of Singapore, okay, from the early days, okay, from Jurong Island and Tuas. Then now our bay is being transported here as well, right? So there is a concentration of services so that all these heavy industries will be able to enjoy economies of scale. For example, what are economies of scale? Economies of scale is really about how when certain services are being clustered together, they enjoy the savings in terms of transportation costs, in terms of how maybe the risk factor as well. Okay, you can see that in Jurong Island, what do you see over here? In Jurong Island, you will see you have the first thing you can see Jurong Island Fire Station. Why is that so? Because this is the petrochemical industry is a very dangerous and risky I would say industry, and it does carry some form of risk, especially when exposed to heat. Just imagine that amount of oil or petrol, and any accident on any problem on Jurong Island must be contained. That is also one of the reasons why it is on the island and not in the mainland itself, because it has some risk. So basically, if we have ever have a nuclear power plant, it will never be in the center of CBD area, right? That will be quite the word, right? That would be quite ridiculous, right? Because that will be near residential areas. So you can see that most of the time in Singapore, okay, I can't say for other countries, in Singapore, a lot of times spatial associations are planned in a very orderly manner. We plan not just for the now, okay, we plan not just within short-term planning, not using short-term planning, we plan for the future. So Jurong Island was planned for the future. In fact, they just announced, right, for Jurong Island to be expanded, to be protected because of sea level rises, so on and so forth. So you realize that it makes a lot of sense for all the heavy industries to be concentrated on the west side of Singapore. And if you are interested, please go to URA website. You can look at the master planning, all right, urban master plan, right? From in URA, they give you a ton of information on where are different heavy industries located. Not all, but I would say 80% of heavy industries are located in the west. But yeah, so the 20% are spread out into different segments because they are of different nature. because they're of different perhaps maybe we're looking at other forms of heavy industries. Okay, can. So yeah, going back to the mind map, just give me a moment. So that is spatial association. Okay, I've talked quite a bit about on this relationship. Last but not least, okay, we talk about the fourth. How how is Singapore really organized? Okay, the chapter gives you some insights. There are more than 20 towns spread across the country, catering to different lifestyles, so on and so forth. Those are important things, but it is also important to note that in each town, okay, there is a town center that serves as the commercial and social hub, and there are many examples in the guidebook. Okay, one such example is Tampines Central. There is quite an extensive amount of services, banking services, malls. Okay, if you go to Tampines, there are, I think if I'm not wrong, there's Tampines Mall, Tampines One, Century Square, and there's a latest mall. I don't even know what it's called. So they have been developing the central of Tampines. Okay, let's go to the map again. Okay, let's go to Tampines. Hopefully you know where's Tampines. So you can see over here. Let's just show some 3D. See, can you see? It's not that good. Let me see. Okay, so let's just see this. All right, you see there's Tampines Mall, Tampines One, next to the Tampines MRT, right? And these are the services that's being provided. And why are they in Central? Because they provide different kind of services, and you, of course, you have the Tampines hub, you have the bus interchange. All your needs can be satisfied at this town center. Okay, why is that so? Because they do not want, previously in the olden days of Singapore, okay, all these services can only be found in this area, in the CBD area. All right, in the CBD area. And when people tend to travel to the central of Singapore to do certain things, for example, banking, okay, it requires them to travel from the outskirts to central. Okay, so if a town is able to serve its residents, there is no need for that traveling to take place, and that actually can cause future traffic jams, congestion, so on and so forth. So a lot of services has been decentralized. Okay, decentralized to other parts of the town, and even in one town itself. If let us now look at Tampines town. In one town itself, okay, it does have different parts of the town. Okay, you have in Tampines, you have Tampines East. So for Tampines East, I do not stay in Tampines East, but there are a few, I would say, neighborhood centers whereby they serve neighborhood. Okay, whereby they serve neighborhood. Do they have banks? They may not have the biggest bank. They could have ATMs, but is there a need for a bank to be there? Maybe. It depends on the needs of the residents, and that is actually planned by URA as well. So you have Tampines East, and then when you go to the other side, you see over here there is Tampines West. Okay, and this is another neighborhood. So you see in this particular neighborhood, Tampines West, it even has a CC that serves the Tampines West residents. You have secondary schools, you have eateries, you have supermarkets, you have all the basic services. So basically, residents living around this area, they do not need to travel out, right? And that is how, okay, that is actually this topic 2, right? Yeah, that is actually how a town can achieve sustainability, because there's enough services. Okay, there's enough services to satisfy the needs of residents. Okay, last time, 20 years ago, if I were to want to buy some fancy clothes, I need to go to Orchard Road, I need to go to Heeren, right? But right now, If I were to really, if I want to buy some clothes, I'll just go to the nearest shopping mall, just go to Uniqlo and get Airism, right? So yeah, that's the transformation that we are talking about, and that's also why we are looking at spatial scale. All right. So for spatial scale in Singapore, okay, we are looking at the arrangement of different spatial hierarchy. Okay, so you have the unit moving to precinct and then moving to neighborhood, and then you ultimately the town. So at each scale, okay, the type of services will only increase more, right? The type of services will only increase more. Do you need to know what is a precinct, what is a neighborhood, and what is a town? Yes, you need to. Okay, a precinct usually is about 400 to 800 residents. Okay, the neighborhood and town is around 4,000 to 6,000 residents, and that will actually that is the difference. Okay, and the type of services they're serving, the hundreds and the thousands, will be very different. Okay, and yep, that is that. So that is how town planning has been planned. Okay, in fact last time uh, it basic services are being provided, but now you see a mature town like Tampines town, it has matured so much so that there is no need, okay, there is no need to get out of the town, right? So all in all, I hope I've summarized nicely the GL topic 1. Okay, it is important for you to take note that for GL topic 1, it is a lot of abstract concepts or geographical abstract concepts. Okay, so you need to make sure you understand. Okay, most of the things that's going to be tested in these are your AO2 questions. Okay, your AO2 question, that means you may be given data, you may be given pictures, okay, to really answer some of these GL questions. Be clear, okay, be clear. So look at the different geographical concepts that's being discussed just now. All right, hopefully this will help you. Thank you and have